Coach Lane Kiffin from Alabama. Coach, if you can start with a brief opening statement, then we'll have the questions fire away.
Well, first off, very honored to be here. It's been a great week so far. Players have really practiced well. Meetings have gone well. Had a great few practices of preparation before we got here, and it's been a very exciting season. We've had some ups and downs, but to be able to be here, to be part of a first playoff, something very special. But as Coach Saban talks about every day, it's not about that. It's about the process, and it's about today. So we're going to have a great practice today, be ready to play a very well-coached team with a bunch of great players and a defense that has really played well all year long, and really, obviously, in their last game, played about perfect.
Lane, can you talk about the development of Blake, really when you got there, what you were working with, and how you brought him?
Well, I think the question's about Blake and his development and what we did with him. I don't really believe it's anything we did with him, really. I think Blake has had a great story so far this year, and it has been because of the way that Blake has prepared and worked. From the first day that we got here, there were a lot of questions about Blake, how he would perform, whether he was even a quarterback. Brought in a transfer that the assumption was by a lot of people that the transfer Jake would be the starting quarterback, and never once did Blake bring that up. Never once did he question that. All he did was go to work. There was times when he was getting less reps than Jake was, which is obviously very difficult for a quarterback to accept after having been here for 4 years, going on his 5th year. And all Blake did was respond by practicing, preparing, like the starting quarterback, and worrying about what he could control. And really, I think we probably did a poor job at times early from a coaching standpoint of calling the game best for him. And I think you can see the progression of the offense, and his play has been about us adjusting to him and tinkering our system so it would fit him best. And he's played as well as anybody in the country down the stretch here.
Lane, what about your coaching style allowed for the transformations of Crumpton in 09 and then Sims this year? What about your philosophy allow those guys to mature as quickly as they did?
Well, I don't know that it's anything to do with my philosophy. I think in both situations, both quarterbacks had been at the program for a long time, had not experienced the success that they had hoped for, and I think it really was just an opportunity that both guys ran with. I do believe our system is very quarterback friendly. It is a system that does not take a long time to learn, and so guys can, in the first year of it, perform well, or if they're young players that you bring in, can play really well. So I just think both stories are very good stories of two kids that really had a rocky career up to that point and just came in and performed really well.
So you did a poor job on the way early in the season.
Well, I don't, not necessarily a poor job, but not calling the game best for Blake because we didn't have any background with him. You know, it's not like you got preseason games to go play. And so as the season has gone along and we've been able to see not just what does Blake do extremely well physically, but how does he handle the game, what parts of the system does he perform best in, and then continuing to do those things, not necessarily do things that this is what we do in our system, but Blake doesn't necessarily do those best. So it really was just fitting it to him and getting the system, and especially the no-huddle aspects of it, which was something that was fairly new for myself. What we're doing now is something that we had never done anywhere we'd been on a complete game basis. Obviously, at times there had been no huddle that we had run with different quarterbacks at different places, but nothing like we're doing now. And it's just been interesting to see, and it's been interesting for myself as a coach to grow and do something different than what we had done to fit the system to our players.
What did you learn from this experience and experience of Southern Cal that have made you a better coach today?
Well, the question's about what have you learned from this experience. I mean, there's a list that would go on forever about it. For Coach Saban to afford me this opportunity to come here for myself and to be able to be the offensive coordinator is one thing, but to be able to sit every day, just like our staff meeting this morning that we've already had, and to be able to learn from somebody like him and his process. Shoot, I would have done it for free. I would have paid him for it, you know, like most people would. So it's been a great experience for myself to see here's what probably is the best system in college football right now as far as it's performing year in and year out, and how he does that and be able to learn that. What you've already learned from a different system in our first time at USC under Pete Carroll, which had a great run there, and how different they are, but to be able to experience both of those, I mean, I don't know how you could ask for a better opportunity, and to have a better opportunity that he gave me last January.
Lane, last year, Coach talked about, is this what we want college football to be? Games like the Auburn, 55-44, up and down the field. Has he had a hard time adjusting to a speedball style offense as a defensive guy? Has he had a hard time?
Well, I think, once again, as you look at this and you look at Coach Saban, and one of the many reasons why he is so successful and the best coach in college football is he's not stubborn. He's not just, we're going to do this because we do this. He's always researching, always looking at everything within the program and trying to find, is there a better way to do it? And I think this is maybe as good an example as you can have. I get a lot of credit for the up-tempo offense and what we've done with Blake and changing from what we did before. But the reality of the story is this up-tempo offense and going faster and having the fast plays is all Coach Saban. This was him from the first day that I got here, almost every day talking about we need to play faster. We need to be more explosive. We need to run more plays. We need to give defenses more problems. And so really it was what has happened this year with this offense and the numbers and Blake and everything really are a credit to Coach Saban and what from the first day, what he saw going on in college football and said, well, if it's working so well and it gives people so many problems, why aren't we doing it? And that's where we are today.
Do you think he likes it better today than he did a year ago or 2 years ago? Do you think he's more accepting of it?
I don't want to speak for him. You have to ask him. I'm sure he likes 12-9 or 9-6 a little bit better. But that's just being a defensive background. But once again, it is what it is, and it's the direction that college football is headed. So instead of fighting it, why not join it? And really, that's a big reason why we're sitting here today.
Lane, can you talk about your relationship with Nick on the sidelines? As a viewer, a fan, sometimes it's very entertaining watching you guys on the sidelines, and a lot of people read differently. Well, there's different things into that might have to be taking place. What's that like with him down there?
Yeah, Coach Saban during the game and before the game, his organization and details, I mean, it literally is, people talk about a chess match. I mean, there is no emotion going into any decision that he makes. And people say, well, oh, he's so calm, he's not showing emotion. Well, I'm sure that's on purpose because he has an exact plan for every situation that'll come up. I mean, it may be if this game goes to overtime at 7 o'clock that morning, it's going to be discussed. If it goes to overtime, which end are we going to be at because where their student section is? You know, what's the wind 5 minutes before kickoff? And so during the game, he's the same way. Everything is calculated. It may be third down, and he's going to tell me on third down, hey, if it goes to 4th and 1 or 2 or 3, we're going to go for it. If it goes to 4th and 4, we're going to punt. So he's always thinking ahead of the game. And I had heard from coaches that had been with him how unbelievable he was as far as managing the game and his preparation for it, and they were right. I mean, it's a big reason why he's won so many games. Not just the process of the offseason, the week, and preparing the players, but the game day management. And it happened in the Iron Bowl. You know, there's a 4th down right there that we go for when the game's really not going our direction, and we make that really starts to turn the game the other way. If he doesn't make that decision and punts, we may not be sitting here today.
You talk about how he's rubbed off on you. You feel like you've rubbed off on him?
No. I'm sure I haven't rubbed off on him, and he shouldn't. You know, here's a coach that got fired, unemployed, and he brings in as one of the best runs in the history of college football. So I'm just a GA sitting there trying to learn every day, literally taking notes from him and how he runs it. And what an unbelievable opportunity to have after the great runs at USC in those years, being there with Pete Carroll, and now be able to be with him. It'll be a good book someday.
Coach, how satisfying has this year been for you personally? sometimes when coaches get fired, they make missteps and eventually find themselves right out of coaching. You fell into a very good situation. How satisfying has it been that you made a good step after USC?
Well, once again, that goes back to being grateful to Coach Saban. The phone wasn't ringing a lot. That's the reality. Regardless of, we all see ourselves in a different view a lot of times than others, and thought, okay, well, probably not going to get a head coaching job, but it would be easy to get offensive coordinator jobs because of what we've done before and places we've been. And like I said, the phone wasn't ringing, and he called and he took a chance. I know he thought a lot about it because it wasn't going to be the popular necessary media hire, as he's referred to before. But he believed in what he thought and what the interview was, and the times we'd had discussions before. We had met the year before the last year, so I guess 2 summers ago, after our bad year at SC, had came out here to meet with him at his house and spent 3-4 hours with him. Just a lot of questioning for him about handling situations and different questions that I had for him. And I think that time and discussing things with him probably made him more comfortable with the hire as well. Obviously, it wasn't done for that reason at that point. But as far as being gratifying and proving any of that, it's not about that. It really is just about getting back to coaching ball, and it's been really fun. It has been really fun, especially for the games. It's been a long time since I just had coached the offense. Every place we'd been as a head coach for those years in 3 different places had called the offense. So during the game, you're trying to call the offense, you're trying to manage the game, you're trying to watch defense, special teams make adjustments and subs. That's a lot going on, and sometimes isn't necessarily that fun. Where now we're just focused on the offense, just focused on the players, and to see their development and see them play the way that they have this year and the excitement that they've had during the games, that's been very satisfying. Yeah, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about today. Like Coach talks about the process, and the process is practicing really well today and being ready for these meetings when we get out of here coming up and making adjustments from mistakes that we made yesterday in practice.
How would you characterize your relationship with him? Is it like father, son? Is it like brother, older brother, younger brother? Is it like crazy uncle and immature nephew? I mean, how is it?
You're just really trying to get me to make the front of Sports Center today, aren't you? That's the 3rd question you've set me up with. I just look at it as head coach and assistant coach. I don't look at it as relative or anything like that. And he's constantly coaching his coaches. No different than me, like all the coaches. He had things this morning before we even started our 7:30 staff meeting that he had written down about the offense or about me that we went over this morning. So he's always, and he says it, one of the great things he does, if he has an issue with something, he's not going to sit around and talk about it with other people. He said, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, and then we're going to move forward, and that's it. And so once you understand that, he explains it to you, you understand that he's always just trying to help you.
Lane, what do you see from Ohio State defensively, specifically Bosa up front? It's been a hell of a year. How do you anticipate managing them? And then your guys' ability to run the ball. They've been susceptible in the run game last month or so.
Yeah, I haven't really seen that film with a bunch of long runs like maybe you have, but I think first off, Bosa's an issue. Very long, strong player, relentless effort player. So we have to know where he is. They do a really good job of moving him around. I think that's missed. People talk about his numbers and what a good player he is. Well, he's a great player, but they do a great job of moving him so it's difficult. He's inside, he's right, he's left, he's off the ball, he's on the ball. So I feel like what they've done with him on defense is kind of what people do on offense with guys. A skilled guy, they move him around, make it hard to find, and they've done a great job with that. I think they play very physical. I think the 2 inside players, the 2 defensive tackles are issues because they play so hard and they get off your centers and guards. And their 2 inside linebackers are very physical, and then their field linebacker can really run. And they leave him in there against 3 wides a lot, and because they have the confidence that he can cover. So this is a very, very good defense, one that really, if you look all year, outside of Michigan State, which a lot of those yards are at the end of the game, people aren't really moving the ball against these guys very much at all.
What about their talent? How do you compare against some of the talent you've seen against them?
Yeah, their talent is as good as anybody we played. They're very talented, very long, very strong players. You can tell that, that they were built to play physical defense, and that's what they do. And then they can run outside and cover.
Lane, a couple of times in the Iron Bowl and the SEC Championship game, the cameras got you throwing up the arms for a touchdown while the play. One time even before the ball was snapped, or one time the play was in progress. What are you seeing there that you know that Lane?
Well, they just don't show. I do that about 30 times a game. They only show it when it works. No, a lot of times I don't even know I'm doing it really. It's just in my head that they're in this coverage, and so there's an excitement that because you're calling plays to get a defense, and if we get this defense, we're going to score as long as we execute it and make the throw. And so there's times that you can tell what they're in, so that okay, this is going to work. To Iron Bowl, hey, we called the same play three or four plays before, looking for boundary cloud to Cooper, where he's going to get on the safety on the corner post, and we didn't have it. He throws the ball to DeAndre to the left because it wasn't the coverage. Well, we call it again and get the coverage, and you can see they're in it. So, if we execute it like the players did, it's going to be a touchdown. So, I don't even know when I started doing that.
You and Urban Meyer had a contentious relationship when you were at Tennessee. Have you had any interaction with them since you got to Alabama at all? When's the last time you guys talked? What's your relationship like now?
Yeah, we, Coach Meyer and myself communicated a few times over Texas, phone call. I don't remember the timing of it, and it was really just kind of, hey, all this kind of crap from before, let's move on. Obviously I have great respect for what he's done everywhere he's been and how fast he's gotten this program up to being the top 4 team in the country. So I don't remember the exact last time I've communicated with him, but obviously great respect for him and what he's done, and that was just one of my many mistakes.
Your mom had a quote about this Tosh.0 skit that
Oh,
came
boy.
out. I don't think you've talked about it yet. She said you liked it and shared it. When did you see it, and what did you think when that skit came out? Because it went viral pretty fast.
We used to have a rule we didn't let my mom talk to the media. It's like how Coach Saban doesn't let us talk to the media. So I don't know what she said, but I did think the skit was funny. Somebody sent it to me. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty funny and entertaining. She didn't like the language very much in it. I know that.
Is it important to still be true to yourself, even though you say the coach has rubbed off on you a lot? Is it important to still be who you are?
Yeah, I think you have to be who you are, but that doesn't mean you don't make adjustments and changes. I mean, there's not a day go by that I don't think about, okay, I did this. This is how Coach does it. This is a better way to do it. And you're just really growing every day around him, not as a head coach, just as a coach. But at the same time, too, I'm not Nick Saban. So there's going to be things that you're not going to change, because then you're just trying to be something that you're not. But that doesn't mean that you're not adjusting.
You mentioned that Nick doesn't hesitate to tell you what he thinks. Does he create a meeting together like on Monday? Does he meet with all the coaches and says, here's what I like, here's what I didn't like, how you felt?
Yeah, he does. It's not the way you're making it sound exactly, but it's not Monday, it's Sunday. And when we watch the film, he watches the defense with the defense and offense and special teams. Prior to watching that, he's already watched it that night after the game. And he already has his notes of his thoughts of things that we did well, situations that came up. Hey, we could have done this better, or let's discuss this because this is a situation that we need to figure out. If it happens again, what are we going to do? And so, and that's one of the great things about him. Like I said earlier, he's going to tell you exactly what he thinks, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so you can learn from that and move on, which is a lot better than having a head coach that, well, I don't really know what he thinks, and he's holding it in. So I think it's a great quality, and I think it's very helpful.
Did you work on Christmas Eve?
Did we work on Christmas Eve? We did not work on Christmas Eve. Yes.
Lane, how hard was it, if it was, to be gagged as an assistant coach here where you're not talking to media, or is that something you enjoyed, all this?
No, I think it's really good for assistant coaches because it's just no extra time. I see what, I know why Coach does it. I think when I was quality control coach, but with Coach Kiffin, I think he had the same thing with the assistant coaches when we were at Jacksonville. It makes sense because instead of doing this, you're just in working, you know. So it's not hard at all, and it's refreshing too. You leave the practice field, you go right to work to watch the film, and not have to think about, okay, well, here's meet with SID, and here's the questions that are going to come up, and here's the things that are out there and stuff. So you really kind of lose track of what's out there because you're just totally focused on football and the offense, which has been good.
I asked Kirby about this yesterday, and I asked him if it was easier now or maybe more difficult for him as a defensive coordinator to become a head coach than it is for an offensive coordinator now to become a head coach with the way football has changed.
Well, I don't think that's fair at all to say offensive coaches should be head coaches and defensive coaches shouldn't, or we're going to hire offensive guys because it sells tickets. I don't think that's fair at all, and I think Kirby's an example of this. Every job that's open in America should be flying to go see Kirby Smart. I mean, how can you have a better resume than what Kirby Smart's put on tape? I mean, it's unbelievable year in and year out how the defense perform, lose first-round picks, have to replace guys, play in a conference that's always adjusting and growing and has great offensive coaches in it. And he's learned from Coach Saban, how do you not hire Kirby Smart? Because he's not an offensive coach. Well, he's smart enough to know he's going to go hire an offensive coach. He ain't going to call the offensive plays. He's going to play great defense and probably going to go hire a spread, explosive offensive guy because that's the direction where college has gone. So I think that's very unfair, for people to say we're not going to hire a defensive head coach.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Next door.